passing away of Queen Elizabeth II may be a sad day for a lot of people, especially in the UK. But at the same time, there are many who do not think about the Queen in positive terms. Some examples: the massacre in Northern Ireland, chemical attack by British forces in Iraq, the role it played in a coup against Iran's Mossadegh government. Well, those are just some of the things that happened during her watch over the UK. In this edition of the Spotlight, we will review some of the atrocities committed by the UK while the Queen resided at her palace and ask, was her role really ceremonial? And isn't it time to abolish the monarchy? A question that many are asking at this point. First, let me introduce our guest for this edition of the Spotlight. Assistant Professor of Middle East Studies at the University of Tehran, Arya Barzan Mohammadi joins us. And we have Senior Research Fellow at the Global Policy Institute at the London Metropolitan University, George Zamieli, who joins us from Budapest. Welcome to you both. George, let me first start with you. We are taking a look at the headlines on mainstream media that are mourning the Queen pretty much nonstop from the time this occurred. And of course now Charles' accession to power. But then there are those that are calling for abolish the monarchy, which is a hashtag that's now trending loudly on social media. What are your thoughts on that aspect of the news about the Queen's death and, of course, Charles ascending to the throne?
Well, I don't think, to be honest, that there will be much change in British foreign policy were the monarchy abolished. I don't think the Queen ever really had much of a say in governmental policy. In fact, the Queen, even in realms where she might have had a say, an influence, for instance, in the Church of England. I mean, she's the head of the Church of England. She really, took a hands-off approach. She was very much a ceremonial monarch, very popular for being so. But in terms of the foreign policy and all of the objectionable aspects of British foreign policy during her lengthy reign, and you mentioned a few of them, she really didn't make those decisions, and therefore, whether under King Charles or a republic, and all governmental decisions made by Prime Minister Liz Truss, I don't think there would be a huge difference in policy.
Well, there are some calls, however, that are being made to that effect, but more so, and maybe worth mentioning in a sense, if you can tell us what you recall, Mr. Mohammad, about some of the atrocities or conflicts, perhaps, that happened during her watch. There's a list of them. Some of them that perhaps stand out as you had the Iraq and Syria, where Operation Shader took place from the year 2014. You have the Persian Gulf War, the Sierra Leone Civil War. I'm looking down a list here, the Suez Crisis, of course, the Iraq War, Yemen and Afghanistan wars worth also mentioning. Is it correct to see these as being what she oversaw and could have done something about, or completely detached from these occurrences during the time that she obviously was alive?
Well, I agree with your other guest that Queen's authority is very much ceremonial on the paper. However, we mustn't forget that she used to meet with Prime Minister on weekly basis and provide advices. That's one thing, how she could have had some influence on decision making. And also what we didn't see or what she should have done is to express her disagreement with some of the atrocities that you have mentioned, loudly and publicly. I mean, I couldn't understand. I mean, for example, what happened in Kenya just maybe days after she took the throne, she became the queen, and the atrocities against the Mau movement in that country. I mean, according to the New York Times, the response by the colonial authorities over there led to the establishment of vast system of detention camps and torture, abuse and killing of tens of thousands of people. And even the British government eventually agreed to pay 20 million pounds in lawsuit compensation to the survivors of that atrocities. So in response or in answering your question, yes, the Queen enjoyed only ceremonial powers, but as a human being, she should have done more to at least detach herself from some of the atrocities that her governments have committed, from the coup against Mossadegh to what happened in Kenya, to the apartheid regime in South Africa, the exercises, the acts against human rights over there, and you can mention many others. And not only that, we shouldn't forget the legacy, the historical legacy of the British Empire. So we shouldn't just look at her reign from 1952, but we should go further or back to the history, look back to the history and see what kind of atrocities and crimes that the British Empire committed from the times of King George II
Sure.
to the times of Elizabeth II.
Well, Joyce Samoyeli, we're looking at what our guest said here about Mau Mau, and this happened right after her father's death. So you have her then take over the throne, and you have what our guest there referred to as a source in terms of how he explained it, and that was the New York Times, leading to the establishment of a vast system of detention camps, as our guest there quoted the New York Times: torture, rape, castration, and the killing of tens of thousands of people. Since that was right after her father's death and when she took over the throne, could she not have then played a role in preventing from that happening then?
I doubt it. I think that had she interfered in any aspect of British policy, whether in foreign affairs or in domestic affairs, it would have led to the swift demise of the monarchy. At least, she would definitely have believed that was the case. I mean, the British worked out a formula for what they called a constitutional monarchy, even though Great Britain actually doesn't have a written constitution. It's a constitutional monarchy, which means that the monarch is essentially a non-political person, doesn't in any way interfere in any aspect of governmental policy. I mean, the governments are formed, they go to the Queen establishes the government, and then, when governments are closed down shop, they go and tell the Queen that that's it, the government is dissolved. That's her role. If she were to start saying, well, I don't like this policy and I don't like that policy, it would have brought about a constitutional crisis and would have led to the demise of the monarchy. And I think she saw her role as someone who wants the monarchy to continue. She, she wants to be the person who inherited the crown from her father and who will then pass the crown on to her son. And doubtless Charles thinks that he's going to pass the crown on to his son. I mean, that's the way the system works. You can't really expect them to operate according to rules that you may like, but they obviously don't identify with.
Sure. Well, here's the problem that many see, and maybe you could shed more light on this or explain this to us, Mr. Mohammed, and that is the fact that, according to the way our guest describes it, if this was a one-off or maybe something that occurred twice during her 70 years when she had the throne, it could be dismissed as such, perhaps. And many may maybe look at it in a different way, but there are many who are holding the monarchy, and in particular her, responsible, since this has occurred so many times. For example, one of the social media reactions if the Queen had apologized for slavery, colonialism, and neo-colonialism, and urged the Crown to offer reparations for the millions of lives taken in their names, then perhaps I would do the human being thing, or the human thing, and feel bad. As a Kenyan, I feel nothing. This theater is absurd. There are many people who hold her responsible. Do you think then, therefore, that she, again, could have exerted some type of influence when you're having repeated acts that that are of this nature?
Of course, I mean, she was a human being after all. I mean, let me disagree with your guest, with the professor, because just years ago, when the voting for Brexit took place, everyone knew that Queen was against Brexit. So probably, if she could have voted, she would have voted again for no Brexit, or not exiting the European Union. So people in England knew about Queen's opinion regarding Brexit, and she must have expressed it in the closed circles, and then this has found its way to the newspapers and tabloids, etc., etc. So I don't see what was the problem with making her opinion known to the people regarding some of these atrocities that you are mentioning. And I understand the role of monarchy in a constitutional monarchy in Europe, but we shouldn't forget that these things are not issues of budget, or appointing this minister or removing that minister, or canceling this or that program. These are really, really severe decisions with the severe consequences that one should have reacted to them as a human being, and had a moral responsibility to actually oppose them if she thought that these were against her moral stance or ethics, or agreed with them. So that's one thing. The other thing is that the monarchy, if we look at it even as a ceremonial, or in something that is written, not in a written constitution, or in a constitutional monarchy. If we look at other countries, such as Scandinavian monarchies, we see some sort of a socialist monarchy. We don't see the same luxurious expending and the lifestyle that we see in British monarchy. And also they have less of controversies from now and then. We know that the controversy surrounding the issues regarding Prince Andrew and other things. So British people, many of them, would demand more clarity and more responsiveness regarding taxpayers' money being spent on luxurious weddings or ceremonies or lifestyles, while at the moment people are struggling with their fuel providing fuel for their cars and paying for their electricity bills. This is not to say that we are going to say to the British people what system they should choose for themselves. This is up to the British people. But we shouldn't forget that the British monarchy's legacy is not exclusive to Britain. It goes beyond that. And currently, King Charles III, he has a lot of challenges to deal with. Namely, first of all, a second Scottish independence referendum is on the table. So we might see a potential breakup of the United Kingdom, mm-hmm. the unraveling of the Commonwealth, and reckoning with the unsavory parts of the royal family's past and its colonial legacy. So we have to see what kind of King Charles III would be is he going to remain silent on most of these issues or quiet, or he will decide to speak up and try to apologize to people of
Sure.
India, people in Africa, and other Commonwealth and other former colonies.
George Samioli, one of the questions that has been asked, and perhaps you can clarify for us or explain to us what the real reason is, and that is why the Queen never visited Israel. I mean, you read one source that says because the Queen did not like what Israel did in the occupied territories in terms of, well, you know, the violation of Palestinians as a whole. Others say it's because of trade deals with the Persian Gulf Arab countries, didn't want to upset them. But many sources are pointing towards the violations of Palestinians, which then doesn't fall in line with the rest of the violations that took place on different countries that were part of the colonialism so that the UK exercised.
That's a very good question, and it's you know, it may be all of those things. You know, she also, you know, probably has you know, it's a sore point with her about the terrorism that took place during the time of the British occupation of Palestine, during the time of the Mandate, when Israeli terrorists, well, they weren't Israeli then, but the Stern Gang, and you know, actually were murdering British officials, and that may well be a sore point with her. I don't know. It definitely is odd, but it wouldn't surprise me if there was some issue that she feels strongly about what happened during the years of the British Mandate in Palestine.
Okay. Well, you talked about Prince Charles there, Arya Barzal Mohammed. There's a social media, again, reaction to him taking over the throne, and that is, why should there even be a throne for him to take over? What is going to be the purpose? I mean, does that serve the 21st century type of governance that should exist? You know, those questions are resurfacing, especially right now. So isn't that a valid point of view for many to have, especially at this point in time where the UK, like many other European countries, but the UK is suffering economically so badly that many would question, why should taxpayers' money go towards whatever it is that he's going to be doing?
It's not a secret to anyone that King Charles III doesn't enjoy the same popularity that his mother enjoyed inside the UK, at least. I mean, her mother, no matter what opinion the world has about her, was very popular inside the UK, or at least in England, if we exclude Scotland and Ireland. But Prince Charles doesn't enjoy even the same popularity inside England. And the reason, part of that is because of the story of Diana and the divorce and the family matters, private matters. And other part is that he is very, you know, his style is very politically active style. So he likes to talk. When he was Prince of Wales, the Crown Prince, he usually commented about politics, about, you know, what type of ministers should a certain prime minister choose, or what type of policies is preferable. So he was very talkative about it. And one of the famous sentences or that he mentioned was after the return of Hong Kong to China, when he you know, joked with it and called it a Chinese takeaway, which made the Chinese government very angry with that comment. So his you know, activism might create some sort of controversy for him. It either could make him more popular if his activism is on the side of the people, if he decides to cut some of the budgets that for luxury spending and lifestyle, and try to treat members of his family, especially his brother, like any other person from the public. or his activism might become a source of problem for him, especially with regard to issues such as Scottish referendum. Countries like Australia might choose to break away from not the Commonwealth, but to choose another system for themselves instead of a monarchy, and choose to become a republic. So there are a lot of issues that might resurface during King Charles' reign, while there was an agreement that there should kept quiet during her mother's reign, because of the prestige, international prestige that she enjoyed, and King Charles III so far doesn't enjoy it.
Okay. Final question goes to you, George Samiali. When you take a look at how the Queen was, and as you explained it, and as actually the role warrants, is for it to be a ceremonial role. But isn't there a possibility that Prince Charles might not maybe hold that on paper, but might exert his opinions, his thoughts? Do you think that may happen? And again, given the current political, not paralysis, but the electricity that exists right now in terms of just the economic pressure that's exerted on the UK, again, just like many other European countries, that perhaps he may come in and take a more active role in that regard. What do you think?
Well, that's a possibility. The problem is that if he were to take a more active role, I think that would make him that much more unpopular, because it's known that, in terms of how he sees the world, he's very much a World Economic Forum type, one of the Davos group, and I would think that he would push towards a kind of a net zero, answer to energy problems, which means that he would be pushing for renewables. The problem is that that's kind of why Britain, one of the reasons why Britain has got itself into the mess that it's got into, which is that it hasn't invested sufficiently in the tried and true fossil fuels. It's gambled everything on renewables, and that's turned out to be a rather foolish gamble. So if he were to push British energy policy in that direction, which was the same direction that Boris Johnson pushed, and that was very unpopular, then I think it's going to exacerbate Britain's energy problems. So, to the extent that he does have politics, I don't think they're politics that the British people would identify with. As I say, he's very much a part of the Davos group. He's one of these people, he likes to hang out with George Soros, Bill Gates,
right,
and all the people at the World Economic Forum. It's not going to go down terribly well among the British people if he decides to go down that path.
Thank you for that. Senior Research Fellow at the Global Policy Institute, London Metropolitan University, George Samiali from Budapest. And thank you, Arya Barzan Mohammadi, Assistant Professor of Middle East Studies, University of Tehran. Thank you to you both. With that, come to an end for this edition of The Spotlight. From me, Kaveh Takwe and the team, it's goodbye until next time.